Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Welcome back.
So, while we are still fresh with the memory and knowledge of what we were just channeling, and man, Cindy's face looks like Moses's after seeing the burning bush.
It I guess it does. You channel information and you take on that extra light. Literally, the light goes into your body.
Yes, so we did our morning mantras meditation, and we were working on connecting with Yeshua, and had a great series of downloads, lots and lots of info that we wanted to share now while the info is fresh in our minds.
Yeah, I mean, I lose it pretty fast, but that just goes along with the territory. There's not much that can be done about that. When you channel information, it is much like water flowing through you. It just goes.
And boy, the downloads were so intense, the connection was so strong, and it was stimulating my Merkaba to actually spin, which gets you a little bit, could be a little disconcerting, a little bit nauseating, really, just because it takes a long time to basically get it under control. So to speak. And so we asked several questions, and Elohim was one of them. I asked, who are the Elohim? Who were the Elohim? Do you remember, or is it already going out?
Some. I remember some. So when you asked that question, I remember seeing these white beings in front of me, and they were just pure white light. And the vibration I got from them was, these are here to benefit us.
Yes, you have to realize, well, many of you guys might realize, if you look at Genesis, there's two creation stories. There's an original, and then there's a second. And so basically, we were hijacked, in a way. This planet was basically hijacked in a way. The Elohim are higher density light beings, positive, benevolent beings. These are not the Enlilites, the Enkyites. They're not them.
Mm-hmm. Here to teach, here to guide from a different dimension. And it was humans, and they could see each other. That was the interesting part. But communication wasn't as easy. That's the only problem there.
Yeah, so if you guys are familiar with the law of one, the collective known as Ra, basically a group of ascended beings from Venus that had evolved into a collective. So they did ascend and became a collective, and they came to basically Earth to teach the humans, and that's where we have our memory of, the Egyptian god Ra and all. And so everything gets convoluted, everything gets twisted and distorted. And, of course, many of these things are thousands and thousands of years old. So it can be tough to sort through it. But what we've gotten is that these Elohims are also, kind of like that. These were good, benevolent beings that were trying to guide humanity, try to help them lift themselves up in consciousness and ascend to a higher vibrational frequency.
Right. That's something that that's what came through loud and clear, that part of it. What was kind of convoluted is, like, the higher you go up, to see, like, I see these creator gods in the sun, and right up in that area, it really gets difficult to tell, like, who's where. That's where everything is almost like the same.
Right. So when we look at different traditions, and we even see different sun gods, right? The reality is there's more than one being in the sun. The sun is, in a way, a collective, too. So there's these different energies, consciousness in the sun itself.
I know, and one of these days I really want to get a whiteboard, and I'm going to draw pictures.
Yes, that would be great. Yes. Eventually, when we have a house, a home, start a homestead, then we'll be able to do so much more. And it's so interesting, too, because Cindy was saying that the Elohim, well, And I said to her, because I know inside in the heart that they are the ancient and shining ones from mythology across the planet. Everybody talks about these beings. It's not just one tradition, not just one little tribe. Everybody has memory of these beings. And Cindy had said, yeah, this is one of the biggest hidden mysteries that they don't want getting out. They had to put it in the Bible because it's everywhere, is what you said.
Yeah, they do. Sometimes, the best place to hide things is in plain sight.
Exactly. And so I just had pulled up this, and it's so much like what she was saying, and I know she's never read this. I've done a lot of studies on the ancient and shining ones going back to my early 20s, and again, I'm going to be 56 this year. From ancient texts, myths, and legends, the true identity of the shining ones is considered to be one of the greatest secrets ever kept from humanity, and it is, and it's intentional. Examinations of sacred ancient texts reveals this amazing race of beings that they're saying that created mankind and walked among humans and were of great importance to the ancient civilizations worldwide. The Shining Ones have appeared in many myths and cultures by different names and descriptions, always as gods or creational forces of light. The most realistic definition of these beings is that they were highly intelligent extraterrestrial, well, we have to add in interdimensional beings who ultimately created animals and humankind, according to this article. Now, do you agree with that? Are they part of the original creators here? Not Enlil and Enki, because those are the people that hijacked the project.
That's the exact vibration I got when I did see these beings appear in front of me. That's just what you read right now.
Okay. So that feels very accurate.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Yep. So, again, the Anunnaki hybrids are taking all the credit for humanity, creating humanity, but it's not really the case.
No, it's definitely not the case. There are beings that wanted to guide us through difficult times, I feel, but as times got darker and darker and darker, we lost our way more and more and more, but we're naturally coming out of that now.
The Egyptian Book of the Dead, again, thousands of years predating anything biblical, states, "Behold, O ye shining ones, ye men and ye gods, ye damned ones, when ye behold Osiris Ani triumphant like unto Horus and adored by reasons of the Ururet crown, fall ye down upon your faces, for Osiris Ani is victorious over his foes in the heavens above and on earth beneath, in the presence of the godlike rulers of all the gods and goddesses." And yeah, there's even, things are so convoluted with the Watchers, because, the Watchers are in many traditions. In Italian witchcraft, the Strega, she gets her power from the Watchers, but according to tradition. But again, now, if we look at the Betty Andreasson affair, where she was abducted, the little Greys, when she asked, "Who are you?" "Oh, we're the Watchers." See, these dark beings try to make themselves out to be the light beings. They confuse us. They get us to give our power away to them.
Oh, voluntarily, just like even look at the apps we get on our phones. We give away that information, and then they just do updates automatically, and we're giving away our private information.
Yep. So you see here, this is the tale of the Watchers, were an esoteric group of beings mentioned and revered by many cultures, calling them Elohim. Ancient Hebrew called them Elohim, much like the ancient Sumerians, who viewed them as the owners of mankind and its watchers. Or Shining Ones were considered to be the most powerful beings ever to exist, the ones who forged the human body and soul, and to have walked with mankind in ages long forgotten. Famous Masonic historian General Albert Pike, who we talked so much about, who in 1871 said there's going to be 3 world wars. He even talked about the restoration of Israel back in 1871 being something that had to be done so we could end up, having another war. Specifically noted in Morals and Dogma, the Elohim Watchers were seen as the hosts of heaven traveling between the worlds. Their leader, Yahweh Elohim, can be translated as leader of the Shining Ones. And according to some researchers, even the Native American shamans tell of the Bhakti gods, which term translates to Shining Ones who descended on Earth millions of years ago, establishing a base when they engineered mankind. So interesting, because Bhakti in Sanskrit, Bhakti means worship. And worship with loving devotion. So early recordings or early records of the Shining Ones can be found in 5 basic sources: the Sumerian tablets from the library in Nippur, where they are called by the name Anunnaki; in the Bible, Book of Genesis, Numbers, Deuteronomy, where the name of Nephilim was given to them; writings in Greece that can be accounted to Babylonian priest Berosus; Book of Enoch, where they are mentioned by the name angels, watchers, and Nephilim; Book of Jubilees as well. And the Bible makes reference to the Shining Ones as the watchers, appearing to Moses' father Amram. And there appeared 2 men, very tall, such as I have never seen on earth, and their faces shone like the sun. Their eyes were like burning lamps, and fire forth from their lips. Their dress had the appearance of feathers. Purple. Their wings were brighter than gold, and their hands whiter than snow. They stood at the head of my bed and called me by my name. Furthermore, ancient Hebrew scripture tells of the birth of Noah being a progeny of the Shining Ones, stating, "And after some days my son Methuselah took a wife from his son Lamech, and she became pregnant by him and bore him a son. And his body was white as snow and red as a rose, hair of his head as white as wool, and his demdema, long curly hair, beautiful. And as for the eyes, when he opened them, the whole house glowed like the sun. And his father Lamech was afraid of him, and fled and went to Methuselah his father, and said to him, I have begotten a strange son. He is not like ordinary human beings, but looks like the children of the angels of heaven to me. His form is different, and he's not like us. It does not seem to me he is of me, but of the angels." According to Sumerian creation stories, angels were known under the name of Anunnaki or Anaj. Now, there's some of this that is, again, distorted. There's a lot in here that's distorted, but there's a lot of here that's good as well.
Well, that's right. They do have to take some control of the information that goes out there to give us a storyline to follow, because they don't want us to figure it out on our own, because we do have the ability to reach out into the ether and grab the truth and speak it forward.
Yes. So, we have different beings here. So these shining ones are benevolent creators, and there are these creator gods in the sun itself. They're like forces of nature almost. These are powerful, benevolent beings, And so here we're looking at YHVH, and we were asking Yeshua about that, YHVH. And basically, do you remember what you were channeling?
I remember that I saw with YHVH, it's when you vibrate it, you get this cloud of information. It's a being, and when you speak it, it creates something in the ether. It creates the same vibration as that being. It's hard to explain.
So it is a being. Yeah. And you said it's like unto the creator gods that are in the sun. So, and it might actually be one of the creator gods that's in the sun.
Well, they show me like this being here, and then the sun, it's like right next to each other. They're right next to each other. They don't put it in the sun, but they put him next to the sun.
Okay, so it's a creative force, a creative power, creator being. Now, there is also EO, which has been associated with the demiurge. And now you said that the difference between that is not actually a being. It's just a creative force. It's almost like a program.
Mm-hmm. Right. There's a difference, because there's just an energy that can be manipulated, and then there's a being. So that's the main difference. It's like, as simply put as that, I guess. It's an energy that can be manipulated.
Right. So that demiurgic force is just a force of creation that could be used for good or bad.
Yeah, that's really, really important to know.
Now, you could also use the YHVH for positive or negative.
Absolutely. It's our intention is so powerful. It is so powerful. That's probably one of the biggest kept secrets that they want to keep from us, is how much our intention matters.
Intention is everything. It's all about where your heart is. And so when we look to the Anunnaki, like Enlil, for instance, these beings are different. These beings are under the control of the draconian energies, which ultimately tie into what is an AI type of system, an artificial intelligence system that seems to be under the power of this black dragon type entity force.
I know, and this is another thing that I really want that whiteboard to draw pictures of, because this is a polarity thing. For these beings, operate under dark energies, or of course the other light beings operate under light energies, but they're polar opposites.
Totally polar opposites. So it takes me to Deuteronomy 32:8, for instance, and this is like known as the Song of Moses, and all. This is right before he's going to leave this realm, and he talks about, just remember what you've been told from going way, way back. Give ear, O ye heavens, and I will speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop as rain, my speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender herb, and showers upon the grass, because I will publish the name of the Lord. Ascribe ye greatness unto our God. He is the rock, his work is perfect, for his ways are judgment, a God of truth, without iniquity, just and right he is. They have corrupted themselves, their spot is not a spot of his children, they are a perverse and crooked generation. Do ye requite the Lord, O foolish people, and other unwise? Is he not thy father that hath bought thee? Has he not made thee and established thee? Remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations. Ask the Father, and he will show thee, thy elders, and they will tell thee. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. And right there, this is before Israel ever came into being. This is before Israel was ever named Israel. He ever had his name changed. So that is a mistranslation. And, we've learned that now, that it's a total it's a deception, complete deception. For the Lord's position is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. And really, now that we have the Dead Sea Scrolls, and still there can still be deception, we see things quite different. And these are excerpts coming from the Dead Sea Scrolls. Recognize again that as far as the oldest Jewish scriptures that we have actually complete and written down, they really are only about 1,100 years old, not too old, and they're constantly being revised. Again, the practice was not to put the vowels in, so it was up to the priestly caste, the scribes there to know and jot and tittle, and okay, this is supposed to mean this, that's supposed to mean that. And thus, this is how we have, 3,000 edits, for instance, in the oldest Gospel of John, thereabouts. So it's fascinating. So you see, you could get a little bit bigger, clearer picture here. They sacrificed to demons, not God, to gods that they didn't know, to new gods that came up recently, which your fathers didn't dread. Wow, okay. Yahweh saw and abhorred. YHVH saw and abhorred because of the provocation of his sons and daughters. And so it's fascinating to see this and look at these translations, because things have been hijacked completely. And I was looking at one old comment from like a year ago where some lady was going off and saying the Bible is perfect, and it's perfectly a mess. is the bottom line. It's been totally corrupted. It's been hijacked by the group that begins with a C word, CABAL, ILLUMIN. You get it. It goes all the way back, to ancient times. Ultimately, it's been hijacked by the reptilian draconian forces. So here we see when the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, he separated the children of men. He set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of God or the gods. What this is, and this person that they're talking about, the Most High, this is actually talking about Enlil.
Yes, this is more of the real draconian-like forces that are controlling. That's what's good to know about that.
Yeah, so, that being that they're talking about, who divvied up the planet, who said, okay, you're in charge of this group of people, you're in charge of that group of people, that's basically the being that we know of as Enlil. That's the Anunnaki. And so that's not Yahweh and YHVH. That's not the Elohim. That's the hijackers that came in and changed our DNA and helped to lower our vibrations and our frequency, and who have been doing things ever since, as far as sending out signals to interrupt our consciousness, shrinking and calcifying our pineal glands, convincing people that Kundalini is all demons, when it's the demons that are convincing people to believe in a wrong perception of the reality that we are actually in.
Well, what they are professionals at, though, is disorganization, where everything should have unfolded very naturally, like bloomed like a flower. As far as human evolution is concerned, they came in and disorganized the energy and just really threw us for a loop.
Yeah, look at the second chromosome. It's all part of this bigger picture, and it's really convoluted. And then, this is something I've been trying to decipher since I was, a little kid. Yeah, and it's just been constantly in my mind and cross-referencing everything, looking at all of the evidence. So, yeah, very interesting, because, the oldest interpretation really is the sons of the gods. And when we look across the globe, we see the same sort of stories. Now, Sumerian Anunnaki creating the first man, it's more recreating is what they're doing. Prometheus and Athena creating the first man, Egyptian depiction of the creation of man. And these beings are all so intertwined and intermingled in so many cases and distorted. So yeah, the Elohim are the ancient and shining ones, but those are a beautiful, benevolent group of beings, of creator beings.
Oh, right. Every time I see them, I feel that vibration of pure benevolence, pure adoration as they're looking at humans and how we can evolve. They want to assist in this. And these other beings that knew about evolution came in to interrupt it, at least, and take advantage of it for as long as they can, which is not, they can't do it forever, because nature has a way of snapping back no matter what.
And here we see Enki and Gibel mining. And we know, we're very familiar with those stories of them creating a quote-unquote slave race to do their dirty work and work the planet. Humans are still working the planet. Who knows how much stuff goes off planet? Who knows how many people of the millions of people go missing every year are taking away into a galactic slave trade? Or even worse. Yes, and there is even worse, and we see that. So, here is the great end times deception, quote unquote, as well, because what they're making it out to do, like if you look at Paul Wallace's work and you look at like Gaia TV and The Fifth Kind, they're giving us, again, 90% truth. And I think a lot of these people may not understand that ultimately what they're going to do is give a deception, because they're going to bring out one faction. They're going to say, okay, yes, this is the reality. The Anunnaki created us. Well, they didn't. The Elohim, along with these creative gods that are of a much higher vibrational frequency created the bodies and stuff. The reality is the eternal self, nobody created that, but we are a piece of Prime Creator. We're all a spark from Prime Creator. Nobody created that part. The eternal part of us, nobody created. So, they don't own us. They want to say they own us. They want to barcode us, stamp us, and say we're property of. But no, we're not property of anybody. We're part of Prime Creator, God with the big G.
Mm-hmm. Right. We are that little spark who wishes to express itself in its very own unique way.
So we see the distortions. So, what they're going to do is ultimately they're going to roll out one faction and, kind of do good cop, bad cop, So they'll introduce us to some Nords, some Pleiadian-looking beings, which they might even pose them as the Galactic Federation, saying this is the Galactic Federation, when it's actually going to be the ones that are under control of the Anunnaki and the Draco, the same ones that gave Hitler and the Nazi Germany their technology to create the the flying bells and everything. It's the same group that now is basically dominating the globe and giving technology in exchange for galactic slave trade, etc., energy, loosh, you name it.
Well, every time you see someone who's standing before people trying to convince them of a certain thing, that's a controlling mechanism. The more benevolent the beings, the less they're going to step in, the more they guide with the heart. And maybe they lead with the heart, you follow with the heart, but it has everything to do with the heart chakra. Whereas these other beings, if they're on a stage trying to tell you something, you can pretty much bet that they're doing it for their own good.
Exactly. So you see, Enki tutored Adapa, the first created human, so to speak. You could say downgraded human. He taught him how to run farms, herds, estates, and his own descendants and less enhanced hybrids is what they're saying here. It's interesting when you look at this because they are going to kind of portray the Enki-ites, even though Enlil and Enki really are not in charge anymore. There's different entities running the show. Those two are kind of retired out in some lake fishing, so to speak, or whatever they do up there, or wherever they decided to settle. But they're going to make the Enki-ites out to be the good guys, and, ultimately then they will have the deception of trying to get the world, this planet, to fight against the Galactic Federation, which is actually the good guys, so to speak. If we're talking black and white, of course, everything is really gray when you get down to it. It's just some are really dark shades of gray. So then the Lord said, "Behold, the man has become like one of us in knowing good and evil." And right there, that's got to say to you something. If we are talking about the creative force of everything, how could it be like one of us, right? There is no, right? I mean, there you go. And knowing good and evil, now lest he reach out his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Interesting, isn't it? Well, maybe we were, that was our original state, was basically as if we had eaten from the tree of life, was our original state. And we see that Anu, impressed by Adapa's sincerity, offered instead the food of immortality. But Adapa heeded Enki's advice, because Enki said, don't eat it. If he offers you any food, don't eat it. He refused, and thus missed the chance for immortality that would have been his. And thus we would have been like one of them, and live forever, and have understanding, and, that long lifespan. This is the older story. This is far older. And, there are people that will say, Sitchin was a Mason. Sitchin doesn't matter. Take Sitchin out of the whole equation. He doesn't matter. He might be a Mason. I have not found evidence to that degree. People will take somebody's word and just think it's got to be the truth. Do your own research. That's the bottom line. But take Sitchin out of the equation. There's hundreds of thousands of these stories on different tablets that we have that have been translated by hundreds and thousands of different people. So Sitchin doesn't matter. He's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Throw all his work out. It doesn't matter. The stories are still there. So, we got to, again, not throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's what they want you to do, and just stay under their mind control. So again, these stories are very interesting, and they are twisted. And we can see where, again, the Bible is just, a composition, again, over 200 Gospels. We have 4. And, the oldest one we have is 3 centuries AD, like 300 years after the fact, which is also in that time frame where, Constantine the Great was formulating his great plan to, if you can't beat him, join him, make a version that you could control him with.
Right. And I don't know, I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but I wonder, like, when I used to believe in the Bible, I didn't look at that very closely about Constantine and his creation. But I would encourage people, just, out of curiosity, if you are blocked and you can't move your mind past certain places, ask yourself, look into Constantine, look into how he did create the Bible, and understand that was not a force of love. I know that's one of the things I did to help myself step out of that matrix.
Mm-hmm. Well, basically, he commissioned these groups to go and, pour through things and get one unified version for everybody that everybody's going to have to accept. And, if you don't accept it down the long run, you're going to end up, paying for it, burned alive, boiled in oil, drawn and quartered, all those horrible things. So yeah, he appointed bishops. Now, recognize too, he was a pagan, and the official religion of Rome was to give power and all worship to Sol Invictus, the conquering sun. And the sun becomes the sun, right?
Right. Yes, and that's really, really important to note and very important to understand as well.
Yes, and so, as we talked about, and we're going to do some videos going into what were they talking about? What were they debating? Because people will be blown away that they were debating whether Christ was human or a god or a demigod. They were debating it because nobody agreed. And ultimately what we've gotten from Yeshua is confirmation that he is what was expected of by the Essenes. The Essenes were awaiting the teacher of righteousness, and that was him. He was the Essene teacher of righteousness. And he was here to basically teach us again about ascension, the light body, moving towards the unity consciousness.
Right. And again, another being that they cannot hide these teachings, they cannot hide the existence, so they put it in plain sight, but they manipulate it to where they have you controlled to move your thoughts this way and move your thoughts that way.
Exactly. So when we just look, we can see, how everything's been pieced together in a way to just create chaos and eternal strife and set people off to be on this collision course, because Albert Pike, again, we were quoting Albert Pike. He said, basically Islam and Christianity, they're structured to be on a collision course, which is going to help to bring in that third world war.
It will, and it's all about control.
So, if you're told, go out and convert the world, and on one side, and then if you're told on the other side, suffer not an infidel to live, you're going to have conflict.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit there.
That creates the perfect environment for what we have. Endless wars.
Yes.
So guys, thanks for being part of the family. Make sure you're subscribed with the bell clicked. Thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon, because we can't do it without you. Thanks for your help in spreading these lost gems of knowledge, so that we can rise up and out of this age, because we are going to. It's inevitable. We are, and we just got a little bit of a bumpy road ahead, but we will keep spreading the light. We will keep spreading the knowledge. We will keep showing and sharing how we have been controlled by these dark forces.
That's our mission. Here we go. God bless and namaste.
God bless and namaste, guys.